Good afternoon, America. Good afternoon, citizens. Today is 4/23/2026, and time now is 4:33. I'm going to talk a little bit eschatology, the prophetic, but I'm going to talk a little bit about something which everyone is waiting for, and something that everyone is seeing at this present time. And I want to point out some certain factors. We all know that we all who are of religious beliefs know that the enemy, the adversary, Lucifer, or the devil, is a very deceptive, cunning former angel. His first name, his initial name was Samael. Yeah, I'm going to give you a rundown on him. Samael, he was called the venom of God. He stood above the angels as a lovely angel, a talented entertainer of an angel. He was loved by many of the other angels in his, how would you say, his hierarchy. Until one day, he decides that he should be far greater than God and should look himself as God. And that's when he went haywire. Well, the story goes that him and about 333 million other angels, 200 of which took on human women and created their offspring, the Nephilim, which are told about today as giants. What the story goes, the full story of the fallen angel, the fallen one, what that his whole priority was to deceive and destroy God's first creation, which is mankind, which wasn't the first creation at all, but his most beloved, because he created mankind in his image. But to not forego this story any far longer, Lucifer, or Lucifero, which means bearer of light, was also a, how would you say, a deceiver, a liar, a complete deceptionist, as he also was a entertainer. But to make a long story short, I'm going to create a story about him. The overshadow of what is happening here on this world is because of the fallback of this fallen one who has taken up the throne on the world. So he became the ruler of this world, among the many other fallen angels who are now entrapped because of their sins against human women and the creation of the Nephilim, which became a horror in those days for the less intelligent human beings at the time. But again, as I say, there have been twisted tales and stories about this fallen angel, and some of it rings true. So basically what we are talking about is an entity on this planet who is able to basically morph into any being he wants to morph into. But his strategy is basically to destroy mankind and corrupt mankind and to take mankind into the hell deaths till eternity. So basically he would be destroying God's creation and mankind. But that is not what I'm going to talk about now. I'm talking about something else. And the consequences of what this entity is doing. So understand what I'm about to talk about. I'm sure that many of you understand what I'm about to say. We are talking about an entity which has possibly, more than probably, possessed a human being on this planet to create what is called the son of the devil, or son of Satan, or Antichrist. Now, let's put this in perspective. If you were someone who wanted to create havoc and chaos on this planet or any other place, you would not have just one. You would have maybe two or three. But the closest you would have would be two, and one similar to the other. I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. The first I'm going to talk about is Matthew 24, when Jesus spoke to the disciples on the Temple Mount, or in the temple area. And I'm going to start off with Matthew 24, the destruction of the temple foretold. Jesus left the temple area and was going away when his disciples approached him to point out the temple buildings. He said to them in reply, "You see all these things, do you not? I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." That is basically true. You go to Israel now and to Jerusalem, all you see are stones thrown all about what used to be the temple. So let me continue with this. In verse 3 of 24, as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples approached him privately and said, "Tell us, when will this happen? And what sign will there be of your coming and of the end of the age?" And Jesus replied and said to them, "See that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah,' and they will deceive many. You will hear of wars and reports of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for these things must happen, but it will not yet be the end. And nation will rise against nation, and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be famines and earthquakes from place to place. All these are the beginning of the labor pains or troubles. Then they will hand you over to be persecuted, and they will kill you. You will be hated by all nations because of my name. And then many will be led into sin. They will betray and hate one another. Many false prophets will rise and deceive many. And because of the increase of evildoing, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who perseveres to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached throughout the world as a witness to all nations. And then the end will come. Now it talks also about the Great Tribulation and the coming of the Son of Man, and the lesson of the fig tree, which I won't get into at this present time. But I'm going to talk to you about the Antichrist. Revelation 13. The first beast. The first beast. Then I saw a beast, and this is Revelation 13 again. Verse 1. Then I saw a beast come out of the sea with 10 horns, and 7 heads on its horns were 10 diadems, 10 nations, or 10 kings. And on its heads blasphemous names. The beast I saw was like a leopard. I want you to refer to each nation which are described with a beast or an animal. The leopard, Iran. But it had feet like a bear's, and its mouth was like the mouth of a lion. Feet like a bear, Russia. And its mouth, the mouth of a lion. Well, you had Iraq, you had Russia, you had Iran, and finally, the dragon. To it, the dragon gave its own power and throne. In other words, China. Along with great authority, I saw that one of its heads seemed to have been mortally wounded, but this mortal wound was healed. Fascinated, the whole world followed after the beast. They worshiped the dragon because it gave its authority to the beast. They also worshiped the beast and said, "Who can compare with the beast, or who can fight against it?" The beast was given a mouth uttering great proud boasts. Understand what I'm saying? Uttering great proud boasts and blasphemies. And it was given authority to act for 42 months. 42 months is 3.5 years, or 3 years and 6 months. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, and those who dwell in heaven. It was also allowed to wage war against the holy ones and conquer them, and it was granted authority over every tribe, people, tongue, and nation. All the inhabitants of the earth will worship it, and all whose names were not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life, which belongs to the Lamb who was slain. Whoever has ears ought to hear these words. Anyone destined for captivity goes into captivity. Anyone destined to be slain by the sword shall be slain by the sword. Such is a faithful endurance of the holy ones. Now I'm going to talk about the second beast. And I will say that, like I've mentioned before, sometimes the devil will use two entities, because if he knows that one fails, the other is able to take his place. Then I saw another beast come up out of the earth. It had 2 horns, like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. It yielded all the authority of the first beast in its sight, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. It performed great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth. Now this is where I'm going to stop for a little bit. If you were able to control satellites that can shoot down lasers, how would you do it? And another thing I had mentioned, remember I said that the devil will use two to do his bidding. One being himself, and next would be the false prophet. Then I saw another beast come up out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. Again I say, the dragon, China. It wielded all the authority of the first beast in its sight, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. Imagine this. As an actor, as a theatrical entity, a person who does theatrics, fakes himself to be wounded, mortally wounded, makes the big scenario, uses the great screen, which, by the way, is being used by NASA now with this Artemis rocket launch. To make a long story short, what if an actor made himself into a fallen leader, then the next day he wakes up and says, "Where's everybody? What happened to me?" They will look at him at great wonderment and say, this man has risen from the dead, just like Jesus did. He's resurrected. Now, wouldn't that amaze a lot of people? Would that not amaze the very people who are under his mandate in a nation, who he has governed? How would it look upon a population when a man who acts as if he had been mortally wounded and shot, and then all of a sudden the next day he feels good and is well, and there's no mark upon him? Oh, he is a miracle man. He has become a miracle man. He has come from the dead, or supposed dead. Such a thing happened. Such a thing happened. But let me remind you, okay, the devil is self-righteous. He is selfish. He has no regard for women. He does not respect them. He is, how would you say, self-righteous. He is self-gracious. I am great. I am the greatest thing this nation has ever had. We are going to make America great because I am its leader. I am Jesus. I am God. And that's who he will try to be as the Antichrist. And that's why he will be called the Antichrist, which means anti-God or anti-Christian. He will not be a Christian. He will be a man assimilating a Christian so that he can deceive, again, Matthew 24. He will deceive many, and many will follow him. Are you getting what I'm saying to you? Let me follow along with this, the second beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. It wielded all the authority of the first beast in its sight, and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound had been healed. It performed great signs satellites with lasers from heavens, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in the sight of everyone. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth with the signs it was allowed to perform in the sight of the first beast, telling them to make an image for the beast. Do you remember the statue, the golden statue? Trump's golden statue. He wanted to erect a statue of himself. He wanted to erect one in Puerto Rico. He wanted to erect one in Gaza Strip. He wanted to erect an arch in the White House. Now his ballroom. This man is full of gold. He wants it all done in gold. That is another thing. Avaricious. Performed great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in the sight of everyone. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth with the signs it was allowed to perform in the sight of the first beast, telling them to make an image for the beast